In 1905, a camera in Black River Falls, Wisconsin, captured the direct gaze of a young Ho-Chunk woman. She wears a plaid-fringed shawl, fabric that seems to hold bonds and paths. In the archives, the figure gets a name, Kate Thunder Minor. More than a portrait, her presence cuts across decades and still calls to us. In 1894, a photograph shows a Kiowa woman. Your eye is drawn to her smile, a bright point that opens the way. Because of it, the portrait feels alive. Calm features, steady posture, a moment of joy that crosses decades. In that quiet gesture, the image stitches ties, sparks memories, and shows the strength of a culture that's still alive. In 1907, the camera meets Lucille, a Dakota Sioux woman, and suggests looking beyond the portrait. Her clothes carry beaded necklaces and bracelets where history is written on the body. The frame moves in close. On her face, a shared memory. Her calm points to the strength of heritage and the continuity of those who came before and those yet to come. In 1906, George Bancroft photographed Cowoots, a Caddo woman. The portrait, restrained and firm, opens a passage. From it rise the plains of the southeastern U.S. and her people's path. Meeting her gaze, we follow a thread that connects body, land, and time. It's a quiet reminder. Despite breaks, the culture carries on and insists on existing. In 1908, the portrait of Awe Eyu, known as Pretty Flower, of the Seneca Nation, captures a moment that cuts through time. Her look asks us to notice traits of her culture and the context that shaped her, guiding a reading of Seneca life. Between memory and presence, the photo builds a bridge between past and present and invites us to notice details that pass through generations. In 1910, a young Kalispel appears, and with her, a door opens into her people's world. From her image, we move through landscapes, rituals, and memories that shaped lives in the Pacific Northwest. It's not just a portrait, it's a starting point for understanding a community with deep roots that keeps moving forward. In The Chief's Heiress, Lariki Yatere, a young woman of the Pueblo Nation in New Mexico, faces the lens in 1905. Carl Moon captures features and adornments that speak of belonging. By freezing the moment, the photo affirms the continuity of a people and invites the viewer to follow the signs of a memory that crosses the frame and a time that persists. This image shows the princess of the Umatilla tribe in Northwest Oregon and takes us to 1900. It's not just a portrait, it's proof of presence and voice. The photo is by Major Lee Morehouse, an attentive chronicler who traveled the region to document people and ways of life almost always ignored. In this way, the photo preserves a moment left out of official accounts. Goldie Jamison Conklin, a Seneca woman from the Allegheny Reservation, stood at the center of Native life in the early 20th century. In a 1910 photo, her direct look and posture reveal the weight of a shared history. Every feature points to her people's memory and the continuity of a tradition passed down from generation to generation, as if time around her stopped. In the 1880s, Juanita Buck, a Dakota Sioux woman, stood out amid the changes surrounding her people. As outside pressures grew, her path showed what endured and what adapted. Known for keeping rights and memories, she stitched together past and future and kept the paths open for those who would come later. In 1910, a young Kiowa woman crossed the Great Plains, a thread linking past and future. Her presence held stories and guided the community's daily life. Between rituals, work, and learning, she and other young women took on vital tasks, upheld traditions, brought families closer, and kept alive the memory that guided their steps. Geronimo's firstborn, Lena, was born in 1886 within the walls of Fort Marion, Florida. Her father remained a prisoner. She, just arrived, began an unlikely life. A cradle set up in a fort became a symbol of a path where captivity and hope touch. That moment shows the tensions of the time and opens a chapter that still echoes. In 1939, a photo shows June Welch, a young Cherokee woman in traditional dress. It's not just a portrait. It's layered memory, hands that weave, signs that cross generations, the voice of a people. In the calm of her gaze, a thread holds, linking past and future and carrying the promise of cultural continuity and resistance. A route that doesn't break, a path that goes on. In 1908, a photograph captured a young woman of the Sioux Nation. The framing, simple and steady, shows clothes and signs that speak of her people. In her look and posture, there's a thread that stitches eras. The image crosses decades and calls the viewer to see a story in motion, made of memory, resistance, and identity, where past meets present. In 1910, Anna Kask-Cash wore cayuse ceremonial pieces, in each bead a trace of the land and the people. As she walked, it was like inviting memory to come along. While the push of the West squeezed customs and knowledge, the community gathered, how to move forward without breaking the thread that tied them together. The answer was born in care, in song, in the repeated act of teaching. Around 1900, Minnie Lou Ottinger Bradley moved through a country in change. Between daily tasks and events stirring the streets, she felt the turn of the century reshaping habits, beliefs, and chances, opening new markets. Amid political debates and inventions, she watched the future being born and noted signs of what was coming. In 1910, a photograph shows an Arapaho woman on the North American plains. The clothes she wears point to bonds, rights, and the steadiness of a people. The portrait stops being just a record and becomes an invitation to remember her presence, to notice how the culture held on in that period, and to keep going with this story that still echoes. In the early 20th century in the Southwest, Apache women wove fibers and memories. Basketry was born from gathering, preparing dyes, and carefully planned patterns. Knowledge passed from mother to daughter. Each basket served daily tasks and reaffirmed belonging. Looking at them, we hear the voice of a community that acts, learns, and moves forward. Alice came into the world in the early 20th century. Her native origin remains open, with signs that link her to the Cayuse, Walla Walla, or Umatilla. The lack of records doesn't erase her. Her path crosses these nations, and from that crossing comes a voice that raises questions about the place she held. The silence of the archives preserves the mystery. Born in 1886, Julie Nelson carried native roots. She grew up among stories, rituals, and arts that set the village's rhythm. The land wasn't just a backdrop, it guided, fed, and led. By following her people's path, she preserved practices and values that crossed generations, uniting the community. Her daily life reflected collective decisions and respect for ancestors. An unnamed young woman stands at the center of the scene. She holds bowls with precision, and that quiet gesture guides the viewer's eye. Made during the Platinotype period, the image shows the power of the process. Shades that suggest silence, light negotiating with weight. Between balance and fragility, the scene invites a pause. Adam Clark Vroman turns an ordinary instant into a memory that lasts. Sawata Inuk, a young person of the Kwakwakawaku Nation, grew up among rituals, songs, and trades of the Northwest Coast. Around 1914, daily life followed the tides in the village's rhythm, where each season brought tasks and gatherings. By listening to elders and taking part in ceremonies, they helped keep shared memory and the continuity of a heritage passed from generation to generation. A late 19th century photograph shows a young Lakota woman. It's not just memory, it works as a doorway to ways of life, signs, and the people's stories. Her gaze leads, her clothes set the time, the details hint at movement. Looking at her, we cross centuries and come closer, carefully, to the person portrayed and the culture that sustains her. A portrait stops us. Hattie Tom, a Chiricahua Apache woman, photographed by Frank Reinhardt around 1898. The click suspends time and leads us. Looking at her posture and clothing, we see the crossroads of memory and identity, a window onto practices, values, and a people's paths. Her gaze fixes the present and reconnects the history that runs through generations. Marcia Pascal appears as a link between memories and identities. Her path begins with the legacy of Lieutenant Colonel George W. Paschal, which sets a direction for the family's story. At the same time, her Cherokee heritage guides values and belonging. From these two forces, she defines who she is and charts the course she wants for her own story. In an early 20th century portrait, an unnamed young Native woman appears. The pieces she wears aren't just decoration, they announce origin and shared memories. The framing freezes a breath of time. In the studio's silence, the footsteps of her people still echo. Looking at the photo today, past and present touch, and she, unnamed, keeps crossing the years. In 1880, Julia Ann Keika of the Umatilla Nation is portrayed in a photograph that draws us to the center of the frame. Seeking her face, we uncover a story that crosses generations. With each look, we come closer to Umatilla culture and the context of the time, recognizing a presence that crosses time and holds collective memory and traditions in motion. Atra Ason, also known as Bertha Thompson, has her lineage traced in records starting in 1914. Daughter of Milton James Thompson and Chinawa, a woman of the Yurok people, her path appears when we cross names and documents. Following these clues, her roots emerge and the route that outlined her story up to now. A photo from the early 20th century captures a field near Sheridan, Wyoming. In the foreground, a woman of the Crow Nation faces the lens. The elk-tooth dress, leather belt, and beaded necklaces signal origin and memory. Between wind and light, her figure ties land and time together. The scene invites us to remember voices and rituals that pass through generations. Zitkalasa, Redbird in Lakota, turned her life into a tool for struggle. Through writing, she turned lived experience and the tensions of belonging into powerful testimony, pushing readers to face the clash between worlds. With that, she opened paths to understanding and respect for Native cultures, echoing far beyond her own community. In 1888, an image settles. Lily Mae Smith Tucker faces the camera. Daughter of Nimrod Jarrett Smith and a descendant of the Cherokee people, her portrait condenses a period. In her features and posture appear choices, pressures, and bonds that shaped that generation, an invitation to revisit that past. Between silence and presence, we see plans and limits. In 1890, in Cheyenne, western Oklahoma, a young woman starts her day. She crosses the dirt street, passes wooden storefronts, handles chores at home, and watches for the train that almost never comes. The town moves at a rural pace, calm. Modernization is happening elsewhere and only reaches there slowly, like news that lands at the end of the afternoon. In 1880, Inusk holds a central place in Kickapoo memory. Daughter of a recognized chief, she becomes a link between what came before and what will come. She keeps rites, stories, and ways of leading the group, passing them on to new generations. In doing so, she strengthens shared identity and keeps alive the legacy that guides the community's social and spiritual life. Around 1900, a camera pauses on the face of a young Native woman standing in for so many nations of North America. The shutter crosses decades and reaches us, opening a window into ways of life, clothing, and bonds. Looking at this image, we're led to imagine daily life and the strategies of resistance that kept those communities alive. In 1923, Ada Lopez Richards of the Tolowa Nation embodies the path of a Native woman in the United States. Her life, tied to the coastal communities of California and Oregon, shows Tolowa ways of life and the changes that hit Native peoples in the early 20th century under political, cultural, and territorial pressures. In 1909, in White Cloud, Kansas, the camera fixes on the face of Nora Barada Murphy. A prominent member of the Iowa people, her path moves across the ancestral lands of Kansas and Nebraska. The sober portrait holds a presence that doesn't fade and pushes those who look to notice memory in motion and the bond that keeps her rooted in her community's life. In 1892, a young Kiowa woman walks, and everyone follows her with their eyes. Her dress, crafted in her people's way, carries beads and fringes that hold stories. With each step, the elders' advice and the breath of the land echo. Her figure stitches past and future and reminds us firmly that tradition is a path in motion, not a lost memory. Around 1900, Josefa Rios of the Tohono O'odham Nation, also called Papago, earned respect among her people. With a steady voice and careful steps, she brought families together, guided rituals, and noted memories. She recorded songs and stories. That's how she kept young people close to ancestral knowledge and helped her community's history keep moving forward. In 1899, Seattle paused before a young woman of the Yakima Nation named La Roche. She moved between a growing city and the memory of her peoples, joining times and places. The strength of her roots and the push of youth made her a striking presence. A cultural reference, remembered in social circles as a living bridge between different worlds. Around 1904, a photograph shows a Navajo woman. The frame moves in on her face. Her open smile suggests confidence and energy. In the background, objects and clothes of the time hint at routines, bringing the story closer to the eye. The image, direct, holds memory and presence. In a few signs, the portrait connects culture, affection, and time. In 1898, a photograph records a young woman of the Assiniboine Nation. The framing is straightforward and shows what matters: face, posture, gaze. In the background, the time of her people hangs. Every detail suggests paths, origin, pressures, possible futures. In the portrait's quiet, past and present touch, and memory finds a place to stay.